was sitting down with somebody that was an old Wall Street guy not too long ago. He goes, Matt, they locked me up they locked me up in the 90s for doing a pump and dump scam, but now it's legal. I'm like, you're absolutely right. I see everybody doing it from the heads of state all the way down, right? There's no repercussions.
Well, yeah, and it's not legal. So just be clear, I will never be on record saying it is legal. It's obviously not legal. But, the question is there going to be consequence for those people? Let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the professor, Luigi Rosabianco. What's on tap today, Lou?
Matt, sometimes when you meet very skilled and educated and successful people, it's easier to say what they don't do rather than what they do. So our next guest, Erai Beckmann, doesn't do kitchen sinks. Other than that, the man has done it all. Mr. Beckmann, welcome to the Liquid Lunch Project. I don't even know where to begin, but let's start with the etymology of your current enterprise, peace through trade. It's almost as if those are two oxymorons. So let's hear it.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time for me to be here. Thanks for the introduction, Luigi. And peace through trade, it's actually taken from a quote of a gentleman that, let's say, intellectually, a lot of scholars would think was a major contributor actually to your modern day constitutional republic and the founding of it in America. You might not know that, but his name was Edmund Burke. Now, you might not recognize that name, but you definitely will recognize a quote of his, which is, "All that is required for evil to exist in the world is for good men to do nothing." You guys have probably heard that quote. It was by a gentleman by the name of Edmund Burke, scholar, statesman, politician back in the day. What he's not known for as well publicly, but ultimately was his greatest body of work, was back in the day, the British Empire had expanded quite a bit throughout the world, and their new territories of the empire weren't really happy that they were taken over and by force being effectively brought into a new empire. They weren't really happy about that. The British Empire had to deploy troops constantly. It's very expensive, and they were constantly in conflict. Well, Edmund's concept was, wait a minute, the cost of conflict is quite literally unsustainable. We can't afford it. I wonder if we start doing trade with these newly amalgamated territories and we help them commercially to uplift the quality of their life, if that will override the cost of conflict and do away with it completely. And this is all documented. This isn't theoretical. It actually worked. It saved them all the money from war and conflict. The people were now happy to be a part of the British Empire because now they had a dollar and they had currency and they had trade. The British Empire's naval fleet was the largest on planet Earth. And at that time, his theory grew the largest human economy at that time in recorded history ever globally. So the concept is, once again, this is something that's been scientifically proven by the World Bank, at the United Nations. If a country is suffering and they do not have basic access to proper infrastructure, clean water, food, education, oftentimes the reason for conflict is just they want a better life.
They will rebel.
Yep. Or they just are, we're all men. Maybe we're just trying to help our families and our communities survive. Right?
Spoken like a true Canadian citizen.
It sounds logical. Right? And so anyways, this has been scientifically since proven, hundreds of years after when Mr. Edmund Burke wrote it. World Bank, UN, if they can get money in there, sure. Aid, fine, but aid goes in and then poof, it vanishes. And the fundamental underlying problem still exists. But what's super interesting is that blockchain is really the first time ever in human history. And there's a lot to get into regarding blockchain. Right now, the majority of users think of it as a scam. That's because to date, the industry has been the Wild West. It's been no long-term value, no legal licensing, very little regulation, and hypey, pumpy, dumpy, rip off those that are less astute market, which always happens. in the Wild West phase of a market before regulation. But let's assume going forward, blockchain's legal, it's still safe, it's more secure than anything you've ever had financially, and it's actually faster. Well, the coolest concept ever is that we could onboard more people to global finance. We could do more trade with more people throughout the world, knowing they're legit real. If we trust that it's safe and it's secure and even it's like insured, as an example, we could be doing more trade with more people around the world than we've ever done before. And the idealistic concept behind the name is that as that trade grows, if we're helping to uplift the quality of life of more people throughout the world, idealistic, but it is completely possible through trade, we could achieve world peace.
What's the role of peace through trade? What's your input?
So our goal was just to build something legally and also something that was good for the environment in the realm of blockchain and AI. The good for the environment part, whether you care about the environment or not, which we do, we're hoping to focus on that quite a bit, but it actually translates as well to efficiencies of scale. So if you guys probably have heard of Bitcoin, you know how much mining equipment you need for Bitcoin and how incredibly large the servers are. And the Trump's just built one, American Bitcoin, billions of dollars and new power plants to support. Well, peace through trade's quite literally the exact opposite energy economics. Most countries in the world can't afford that. Even if they could afford to build it financially, which they can't for the most part, they couldn't even power them. They don't have the grid. They don't have the infrastructure. So we actually looked at the problem, the exact opposite of Bitcoin. And this pisses quite a few people off that are Bitcoin maxis. They only dogmatically believe in Bitcoin, but it was just what we looked at. We wanted actually something that could scale throughout the whole world, that actually would allow more people to participate in it. And actually, as it scaled, literally the opposite energy economics of Bitcoin, it would get more efficient. So you guys could throw up a few solar panels in Africa, power a computer, a normal computer, and support the network and earn the coins and then want to use it because you're making money from it and then get it involved in your community. Now, we took an approach, though, to that problem of global world peace by focusing on legal regulations for all aspects of the project. Now, that doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it took us 5 years of development incubated at 3 major universities that have more than 30,000 students in Southeast Asia and more than 5,000 faculty to build what we've built. So quite a bit of time, money, energy has gone into it just to make sure it was done the right way for the long term. And the world still isn't at a point yet until this Clarity Act passes in America. We're not even still at a point 5 years later where the regulations are in place yet, where we even want to go public as a result yet in North America.
So yeah, it is definitely still like the Wild Wild West. You know, a couple of years ago, we had moon coins, meme coins, NFTs. Everybody was YOLOing into these coins, losing pump and dumps. You know, it's funny. I was sitting down with somebody that was an old Wall Street guy not too long ago. He goes, Matt, you know, they locked me up in the 90s for doing a pump and dump scam, but now it's legal. I'm like, you're absolutely right. I see everybody doing it from the heads of state all the way down, right? There's no repercussions.
Well, yeah, and it's not legal. So just be clear, I will never be on record saying it is legal. It's obviously not legal. But, you know, the question is there going to be consequence for those people? Like, with peace through trade as an example, usually look up a blockchain project. It takes tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars, usually, or more. You know, so at peace through trade, fast forwarding, just FYI, high level summary for everyone. We are not yet public. We've been in stealth mode predominantly for 5 years. You can learn more at peacethroughtrade.com. I don't know if these gentlemen are going to have their own link they want to share with you, but that's also an option. Perhaps you could find it in the description. But we're actually waiting for the Clarity Act to pass and Bitcoin's price to turn around before we have our ICO, before we bring the coin public. There's no hype. There's no future financial guarantees, but we will begin to share once we have the official ICO date announced about 90 days beforehand publicly, some of the factual things we've achieved, which are a little baby license in Singapore, which is pretty cool, a layer 1 blockchain, a mobile wallet app, a public streaming global social marketplace, social media site that's fully integrated with the blockchain, our own exchange, our own stablecoins, all of which we've done, all of which is working, all of which is actually working. There's auditing involved. There's even future insurance involved because it's all been built according to the laws and the compliance. The results, we were awarded last year as an absolute leader in the United Nations when it comes to blockchain and AI. And we have our first government partnership. It's actually with the government MOU, officially being promoted by the government of Panama, where they verified, validated, and did diligence on the project for a year. and they're asking for our help quite significantly. It's pretty badass in ways that we're really inspired to work on. So that's just a little snapshot into, wow, I've never even heard of this project before. But when regulations shift, and only the groups that have built it legally and are adhering to the laws, you can still have safety and security and privacy legally, and insurance, because there's third-party auditing, because it's done legally. It's going to change the entire game. And absolutely, Peace Through Trade right now is positioning itself to step forward as a global leader in Web3 and AI and blockchain done legally. Our particular angle and focus is for the benefit of the planet and humanity. That's what we want to be a leader in. We're working with governments. We're going to work with funding. We're going to work with government officials and ministers, and we really want to help create a global market that focuses on uplifting the quality of life, maybe through jobs, maybe through funding, that helps the planet thrive with nature and sustainability and humanity. And in the world of government, United Nations, helping humans with financial access is called equitable access. And that's kind of like our particular niche. So we're not trying to compete against X or Instagram or Ethereum, but if you care about the environment and you care about other humans and you want to do what you can to help, rock and roll, check out peacethroughtrade.com. And you gentlemen might not have known this, but our Instagram this year, Instagram let us know. We started experimenting in January to see if the world cares about blockchain and AI as a solution for nature, the planet, and humanity. And we are in the top 0.01% most viewed Instagram accounts in the world. Not just in blockchain, not just in nature. We have well over 100 million views this year so far. So if you click on our reels and check it out, we only started in January. So I think, I don't know, I didn't look this morning, but we had about 35,000 fans the last time I checked. But we're very often getting 1 million view reels, 5 million view reels, 7 million view reels, 3 million view reels. It's amazing. Our community is growing at rapid fire. And it just goes to show that people care about the fact that they could actually be involved in doing something that is making a positive change that they can trust. So thanks, guys.
I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. But our audience, they're mostly small business owners, right? They have some experience with crypto. They heard about Ethereum. Maybe they have a little Bitcoin out there. You know, since the spot coin was released in 2024, it's getting more publicized, right? But when you're talking and sitting here about an ICO, some of them have no idea what that even means, or how they could purchase something, and where would they be able to purchase it? Is it going to be in a marketplace originally, or do they have to go to a website and open up a wallet, download a Web3 wallet? Why don't you explain that to them?
Well, yeah. So first off, just because we're legally licensed in Singapore and we adhere completely to the laws, you can only buy if it's legal according to your country's laws and the jurisdiction that you come from. But if you just go to peacethroughtrade.com, it'll tell you if it's legal for you to buy it or not. You can actually purchase with a credit card, or if you're already familiar enough with crypto, it's super easy. It just clicks, you click a button, it links to your wallet. It allows you to send the funds instantaneously. If people don't know anything about blockchain or crypto, I always recommend don't buy anything. You know, do your research. If ever you're going to buy, only buy an amount you could totally afford to lose. There's always a risk. Even with our project, this project's been pretty cool because my wife and I have funded it, I don't know, about 90+% of all the funds ever that have gone into it from our own private family office. We haven't needed the money. We've not been in a rush. We could care less. That's a pretty cool place to be when you're funding something. You really just get to make sure your values and your visions and that which inspires you the most, not someone else's greed and timing, is influencing something. But if you did want to buy something and it's an amount that you could totally afford to lose, check it out, peacethroughtrade.com. But I just suggest, just buy something small, but if you're interested enough to follow along, right? Like follow along, stay tuned for the updates. We do live Zoom updates privately for the community every month. It's pretty cool. We added some advisors recently that are unreal. We have a former US major Army general officially a part of it. I will not name drop here, but if you check it on the website, we have some of the largest, like you guys would like this, Matt and Luigi. We have quite literally the largest fund manager from the largest fund in this area of sustainability. And this sounds exaggeratory. If ever you hear anyone else saying this, it is exaggeratory, but in the world, literally, CFO for 8 years that recently joined our board of advisors. We have government recognition, UN recognition, actual legit bleeding edge, actual experience recognition. So we're framing up to kind of be, and this is why I'm only started doing these interviews now. And and I'm happy to be talking to your audience, but until we ICO or until we launch our going public date. So ICO is the same as in the stock market, an IPO. ICO just refers to initial coin offering. So it's like a going public in blockchain. Until we announce that official date, you won't even see me in the news cycle, because the existing leaders that are out there have tens of billions of dollars in market cap, hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap. I will not name names, but I've been in meetings where there are projects worth tens of billions of dollars. That's absolute hot air. There's no value there. It's not working as a tech. They don't have the laws in place. Everything I'm describing it is. So I'm not saying we're going to succeed in the future, but I am sharing with you the right functional foundational structure to look at for something that could succeed over the long term.
Erai, can you give us some guidance or insights on how you plan to couple the earnest need to scale and grow peace through trade and also be compatible with the needs of Mother Nature and being ecologically friendly?
Sure. Yeah. People care about that. So, with a project, I don't know how many projects you guys have had from start to finish. I've had a few, and I've had some worth billions. I've had some that have absolutely failed. But usually, however you set out to do something, it can evolve and change along the way. You meet cool people, they share new ideas, shifts your perspective. With Peace Through Trade, we've been working on this for 5 years, but our fundamental architecture was based on 2 pillars: be legal and be sustainable, like as best for the environment as you can be. I am not some crazy climate activist. In Texas, I've got a turbo diesel truck. In the other parts of the world I live, turbo diesels, gas, I've got things, right? But I definitely felt growing up, I am Canadian, we care about the environment, and I definitely thought it would be cool. Like, wouldn't it be cool as technology evolves that it's also better for the planet? I feel like that's a completely reasonable thing that we should be focused on. So with Peace Through Trade, we looked at the problem of having something. Imagine you have tens of millions or hundreds of millions of wallet holders. In this case, it's just on a smartphone, right? Functioning and interacting with something. Well, that requires, you don't see it that much, but it requires a lot of computer power, servers, and energy to support it. So you guys don't know this, but when you're on Instagram or when you're watching this podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, these massive organizations actually have computers and like shipping containers that are being powered and cooled all over the world to support how you're able to interact with it. With Peace Through Trade, we have to think about the same thing. Hey, there's no guarantees, but if we scale throughout the world, how does this thing work? So our technology, instead of Bitcoin requiring these massive mining centers that require new power plants to be built, like right now, just to share with you some facts, I'll spit some facts to the audience. Bitcoin right now has about 8 million nodes, and that can be from something the size of, a little square to these very strong computers. All over the world, it's got these. It uses right now about 15 nuclear power plants, like 15 nuclear power plants running 24/7 only to support Bitcoin. Okay. Now, everyone that owns Bitcoin, they want it to grow, right? They want more people getting Bitcoin, more people mining Bitcoin. The problem is the way that Bitcoin was written originally, which was brilliant and ingenious, and no one's discounting from that, of course, at all, was that it should get more energy intensive and harder and more compute to make it more secure over time. If it costs more money for people to support the network, theoretically, that could influence its price to go up. Okay. So Bitcoin will always become more expensive to support over time. That's the theory. Now, those that believe in it, believe that. 50% of the markets think, well, wait a minute, what if the cost of Bitcoin gets higher than what its price is at? Could it all completely collapse overnight? They might not be wrong either. So there's an argument. There's a philosophical debate going on. I just summarized the entirety of Bitcoin for your listening audience. Peace Through Trade's foundational architecture, though, was designed to start off efficient. So like right now, we use about 1,000 times less energy than Bitcoin, just to put it in perspective. Because of that, we have a global system that's, let's say, the equivalent of what an entire nation would need to run all their finance right now. Let's say a smaller nation. Right now, our own servers, our own AI compute, all the stuff that we got going on, we have our own AI too. Right now, we're able to run our entire system off of completely solar. That could run a small nation. Let's say 10 million people nation. Okay. We're already doing that completely on solar. Right now, that would be impossible with Bitcoin and other major leading, it just doesn't work. And as I just described, more usage Bitcoin gets, the more energy it needs. Okay. Now, the exact opposite with peace through trade is right now we're 1,000 times more efficient, as people around the world are like, whoa, I don't need this really expensive computer to run peace through trade. I could do it off my laptop. I could do it from a regular computer. That's cool. I want to get started. As we get thousands of users, tens of thousands of users, we become thousands of more times more efficient. And eventually we're 10,000 times more efficient. Eventually we're 100,000 times more efficient. So it just means you can have a global network that's using way less energy. How's that better for the environment? This is a longer answer. If it takes less energy, we don't have to build a nuclear power plant in the middle of the jungles of Brazil to support this next evolution financial technology. That's pretty cool. If you could power it with solar panels, where that actually means, and whether people care about the environment, Luigi, or just straight economics, what I just described to you is peace through trade is the least expensive option initially, whether you care about the planet or not, and the least expensive option ongoing. Because once you buy the solar panels, in our case, they're going to work for 25 years. It's actually free after that point.
So how are you going to compete with stablecoins?
So we don't have to compete with stablecoins. As I described earlier, we've built our own. So what we've done is we actually have our own ecosystem. Once again, Peace Through Trade, you can check it out. We have a layer one that's like Bitcoin, Ethereum. We have our own mobile wallet app. We have our own stablecoins. So we have a US dollar stablecoin. We have a Singapore dollar stablecoin, Hong Kong stablecoin. We actually, and this is going to be very disruptive to current industries, have our own gold and silver stablecoins. That gold and silver stablecoin, we're very fortunate to be working with the world's largest gold and silver vault in Singapore. They will be the most legitimate, audited, verified, physically backed and vaulted gold and silver token I'm aware of anywhere. That's just my opinion, not financial advice, to the point where your funds can be 100% unlimitedly insured, which you've never heard of with any token ever before. But do your own research, do your own reading. That's just one of the things we got going on. But all of this was the vision of, how do we support global trade and finance as much as possible? How do we make it safe? How do we make it so you could trust it? It's got to be inexpensive. It's got to be accessible for those of our fellow brothers and sisters in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in Latin America. How do we do this? Like, what would they actually care about? No one wants my Canadian flag or your American flag plastered all over something for the world. I know we like that because we're patriotic and we're passionate, but the whole world wants something that's more geopolitically neutral. They want to see something that's cool for everyone, where they all have a fair shot. Let's say the American dream. Well, if you build the ecosystem, you build the platform, we've done it legally so they can trust it, maybe they'll participate. Building usage in something like this is the absolute hardest thing on earth to do. We had no idea we were going to take off and go mega super viral on Instagram. If you guys haven't seen it yet, check out the reels. We're getting more views on one reel than the last podcast that interviewed me that has 1 million followers. So we are going mega viral right now, which is amazing. So that's the best way to build a global community. If you're going to get actual followers and actual users that actually care, awesome. And that's what we're working on right now. That's going to be the next phase.
I love the sustainability option. And then I also love the fact that it takes less energy, right? That is one of the biggest problems with Bitcoin and Ethereum. You know, you've been in the government space before. You helped get other things approved by the government. Why don't you let everybody know? And I really want to know, what does it actually take to get a blockchain project trusted by governments and institutions?
That's a great question. I'm not sure that we would have, all the time to fully answer it, but it's like anything in life. I know that it sounds like a mystery at the highest levels of what happens really behind the scenes of government. It is the exact same thing that happens for you in your business. Doesn't matter what your business is. Do people like you? Do people value your product and service? Most importantly, do they trust you? But the one differentiating factor I would say when you're working with government, especially at the highest levels, is you need to be absolutely, sincerely, genuinely badass and amazing for real at what you do. Because when you're working with the government, there's no benefit to the government to promote your thing. There's no benefit. It's actually all the risk is on them, right? They've got a brand, they have a reputation, they're representing millions of people. When Panama began, already Panama's promoted on their own public social media on behalf of the government, the minister we're working with, this MOU that they did with Peace Through Trade. They did that in April of 2026 at the Earth X summit in Dallas, Texas, which was pretty cool. We haven't even promoted it yet. It's nowhere on our social media. We did not do a press release about it yet. We will at some point in the future. But you need to be absolutely amazing because they're going to do their own diligence. They're going to verify everything you say. And if that doesn't check out, then it's not going to happen. Because you need to be bulletproof and they need to trust you. God willing, you meet real people that actually care about the same things you care about. I will not name names, but a lot of government might allegedly have to do with money exchanging hands. Not naming names, not labeling governments. That's something I read about. It's possible. But randomly, very rarely, you'll meet people that you really like, that actually care. It just so happens for us, this minister we're working with, you see his posts when he's promoting peace through trade. This guy is a legend in sustainability. He's the Minister of Environment for Panama. He started one of the longest standing foundations focused on protecting nature in Panama 40 years ago. This guy started the first foundation ever when I was born. And he's been fighting governments ever since. He's a badass entrepreneur. He really knows what he's doing and he actually cares. And it's awesome because there are things, I'm not a crazy climate activist, but if you go check out Peace Through Trade, you will see reels. The reason our reels are going so viral is there's stuff happening in nature and the environment right now that whether you consider yourself crazy or these other people are crazy or not, you will watch some of these reels and be completely floored and shocked with how bad some of the devastation is right now. And when you see the perpetrators of it, you'll be like, what? How are they doing that? Like they're going to destroy the oceans. They're going to kill all the whales. What? How is this? They're going to use up all the water for data. How are we going to live? So there are actual issues that are so severe and so dramatic and so urgent. You'll go, oh my God, how can I help out? Now we all go back to our lives. We go through our busy day to day, but it kind of could feel cool for you knowing if you're a part of a global community that is focused on it. We are working on solutions. We're trusted so much. Governments are going to work with us. The UN's awarding us. Still a big gap here. We have two verticals here for this business. You guys are small business owners. We have two paths to revenue with Peace Through Trade. We have the consumer pathway and the government pathway. On the government side, I'm going to keep working with them to make laws and get funding on the transparency of our blockchain that it's actually going to good work. On the consumer side, my goal is we build a community big enough where people care enough and we can do good work. Actually, I'm not saying I'm going to save the world, but I definitely think someone needs to because none of us can afford to lose it. So that's why we're doing it.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you do. I hope we see everything come to fruition. We get the Clarity Act passed, and I hope to see you on to big things. Everybody, that's a wrap of the Liquid Lunch Project. We'll catch you on the next episode.